Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my January and February wrap-up combined, and I entirely filmed a January wrap-up video, but I just never uploaded it because I was lazy. Not because I was lazy, that's a lie. I was just super busy in February. If you don't know, I'm an eBay seller. I run my own business and life got in the way. It never got uploaded, so here we are doing a combined one, and then after this, I'm hoping just to make them a regular monthly one because, to be honest, I don't remember a lot of my January books. I read a lot, so like it's hard for me to remember like specific details of books after time passes. So far this year I have read 14 books, and we're just gonna go over all of them pretty quickly. So the first book I read this year, which actually kicked off the year in like such an amazing way, is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. When I filmed my January wrap-up that never got uploaded, I said I think this is going to be a favorite book of 2022. So I've gone through another month of reading, and this is still at the very, very top. I'm obsessed with this book. This is a romance book. It is between, we have Olive, we have Adam, there's fake dating, and they're just the cutest couple ever. Like, I'm just honestly obsessed with them. I'm obsessed with the story, like all the situations. I love, oh my god, there's the protective boyfriend trope in here. Oh my god, I love it so much. It's just, it just warms my heart. And then there's like the forced PDA trope, and just everything about it just warms my heart, and I love it so much. And if you haven't read this book and you're like, is it worth the hype? Bitch, it is worth the fucking hype. You better pick this book up. You better read it because you're gonna love it. And yes, just thank me later. Thank me later after you finish this book. The next book I read this month, I really didn't prepare for this video because I didn't even get all my books out, okay? The next book I read in January was Not a Happy Family by Sherry Lapina. So this book is a like mystery thriller. I don't know, I always say it's a mystery. I did not find it very thrilling. I was never like on the edge of my seat like what's gonna happen next. It was just like, okay, interesting. I do remember like the writing style of this book is very kind of like to the point, so it was like hard to really connect with any of the characters, and I think without that emotional connection, that's part of the why it's not like thrilling, right? Because you're not like emotionally invested, you're just kind of reading the events as they happen, I guess. I don't know, that's my thoughts on it. Yeah, it was hard to really connect, so I gave this a 3-star rating. Oh, by the way, if you had to guess, I gave this 5 stars. I didn't say it, but I'm sure you could have guessed. Anyway, so this I gave a 3-star rating to. It wasn't bad, it wasn't great, it was like forgettable, like happy I read it, had fun reading it, but I'm sure there are better mystery thrillers out there. So, I mean, if you are someone who only reads like 4 books a month and you have to be really selective and you only want to read the best of the best, you could probably skip this one. But if you find it at a thrift store and you're like, hey, should I pick that up? Yeah, probably. If you find it at a thrift store for like $4, I would pick it up. So there's that. There is that book. Best way to describe it. It's basically like rich people drama, which I really do love rich people drama in books. I just find it so interesting. I love when characters are like super wealthy and loaded because I don't know, it just sets like a cool story. They can kind of do anything. They have everything. I just find it really interesting and I love it. So that's one aspect I really like to this story. But basically these 2 parents, they get murdered, and their 3 adult children are kind of all the suspects. And this book does a really good job of making you feel like any one of their kids could have killed their parents, but you don't know exactly that it's one of their children, like, because there's other characters in the book as well. Like, they have an aunt, there's a housekeeper, so they do a good job of making you think that anyone really could have done it, and so you don't really know who's gonna do it till the end, although in the reviews, but this is the case for every mystery thriller. In the reviews, there's always people like, I saw that coming. Well, congratulations. Do you want a fucking sticker? Because like I didn't see it coming. Like, I was surprised. So yeah, there is that book there. That is the second book I read this month. January was filled with a lot of romance, not gonna lie, so we got more romance to go over. The third book I read in January was The Spanish Love Deception. This one I read on audio. I hated this book. I fucking hated this book. This was a 1-star rating book. No, it is entirely too long, and I was like, okay, so the author is coming out with another book this year. This was her debut novel. She's coming out with another one, and my main thing with The Spanish Love Deception, I think it actually had potential to be a good book. It was just entirely too long, and it just made things stretch on way too long. So if you want like a full review and a full rant of me hating this book, you should go watch my I read like 3 romance video or whatever. because I really go into detail of why I hate this book. But anyway, so like the character, the main character, all she does is like complain the whole time, and she's like in her head too much, and it's like repetitive thoughts over and over and over again. It was a really long audiobook, and I think the book itself is over 500 pages, which I just feel like is unnecessary. So anyway, the author is coming out with another book this year. I went to look at the page count on the book, and it's still like a 500-page book. So no, sorry, not gonna do it, not giving this author a second chance, because the first issue it was too fucking long, bitch. Learn to edit. Like, it was not good. I mean, I know this book has so much hype behind it too, and like I just don't understand why. I did not like, the character annoyed me so much, and then by the time we got to the end and they had their conflict of like, will they, won't they be together, and then they finally get together, I like did not care. I was like, okay, how much faster can I listen to this so it can be over? Basically, I should have DNF'd it, but I didn't. So there's that book, Spanish Love Deception. Not worth the hype in my opinion. If you like to hate read things, maybe read that, but like, no, not good. Do not trust the community on this book because it was terrible. The next book I read not this month, in January, is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I think I gave this a 4 stars. Beach Read, also by Emily Henry. I love that book. I read that last year. I gave it easy 5 stars. I kind of thought this was going to be a 5-star because I love Beach Read so freaking much. I was like, this author can do no wrong. Well, this book was okay. Like, it was good. It was good. It was a 4-star read for me. So like, I did really enjoy it. I read it really quickly. It was very easy to breeze through and and read and just like the book and like the characters. It was just an easy, fun read. But I feel like if you really look at the book, not much happens. We're basically just like bouncing back and forth between different timelines of like past vacations they went on, and then current vacation that they are currently on. Bitch, can you be more redundant than that? Like, oh my god. And I feel like the conflict that they have, the reason why they stopped talking for the amount of time that they stopped talking, is just so dumb to me. And like, it was not really believable. Like, you guys were such good friends, right? Because you're looking at their past vacations, you're like really seeing the foundation of their friendship and why they're so close. And then you look at the reason why they stopped talking for 2 years and you're like, really? Like, that's why? Like, you had such a strong foundation, and something so small is the reason why you guys stopped talking for like 2 years? Like, it just didn't make sense to me, like that whole part of why they weren't talking anymore. I feel like there wasn't a lot of plot to it, and the main thing was their relationship and their romance, which I really liked in Beach Read because they were authors. They were also focused on their 2 other stories. So like in Gus's story, we were focused on his cult in that book he was researching, and then January, we were not only dealing with her romance with Gus, but we were also like focused on her dealing with the grief of her father dying and kind of like the secret life he had. So there was like a lot going on in that book, which is why I really liked it, whereas this book just kind of focuses on them two and not much else. The next book I read is Love at First Sight. I really loved the concept of this book, and I ended up giving it a 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. And the concept of this book is there is a girl, she is an interior designer, and she's with this guy, and they break up, although like the book starts after they have broken up or whatever, and there's an empty lot next to the house that he owns, and she buys the lot and she builds a spite house, basically a house of everything he hates, and she's gonna Airbnb it or whatever. And she enlists the help of this like super hot architecture at work to help her build this spite house. And it's a little, it's not enemies to lovers, but it's a little like they're kind of like, they're not like, you know, they're not close, they're not friends, they're just kind of like, and he's kind of like standoffish, but you know, not enemies to lovers, but like kind of that vibe, but not really, if that makes sense. I don't know, but it was really cool, and it was like workplace romance. I really like this book. I mean, it's not super memorable. Like, I'm not going to be able to tell you every details of the story, but I remember I had a good time reading it. Don't regret reading it. Gave it a 4 stars, but I don't remember the characters' names. For the life of me, I am trying to think of what the characters' names are, and I just can't do it. I have no idea what their names are, but I do remember I had fun reading it. So this would just be like a good easy breezy read if you are at the beach or just like trying to do something quick and fun. Okay, the next book I read was Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I gave this a 3-star. It was okay. It was good. It was fine. I think I was in the wrong headspace to be reading this book because I had read so many romance books by the time I picked this up, and I was just kind of like over romance by the time I started reading this. I was like, whatever, like I've overdone it on the romance. Like, girl, diversify your reading, because no, I was just not in the mood to read another romance, and I read this, and maybe if I was in a different headspace, I would like it more. It felt a bit long to me, even though like what, it was not even that long. It was like 320 pages. So I'm like, oh, is this book almost over yet? I thought it was good. Basically, it was about two main characters. I really like the setting. So it's another like workplace romance. They work at a TV station. She's a weather girl. He is like a sports sports commentator, and they have their two bosses, and their two bosses were previously divorced, and they just kind of hate each other and make the workplace like a really miserable place. So these two like team up to try to get their bosses to fall in love with each other again so that the workplace will be more happy, and in doing so they start falling in love. Our main character, she suffers from depression, and I actually really liked that aspect of the book, that we were talking so much about mental health, and like the author put a note in the beginning about her experience with mental health and writing this story. I really appreciated that. I love when we have more to the characters than just like the romance aspect to it. I'm someone who deals with anxiety. I don't necessarily deal with depression, but I do deal with anxiety, and it's just nice to like see a character that also struggles with mental health issues and like have that be represented in a book. And I feel like because it leads people to like understand kind of what's going on in like their brain, and it makes people more understanding if they are to deal with somebody who has like depression or anxiety like in their life. Then you kind of like read the book and you kind of have more of an insight into their headspace, and that's why I really love seeing the representation in the book. And then we have the main guy character, which I also really liked him because he was more realistic of a guy, because like all these books, like, love them to death, but it's like, oh, he's just like this nice guy, and he has like a rockin' six-pack, and he's super muscular, and he's hot, and he's this and that, and then this dude has like a dad bod, you know what I mean? It's like so like normal and what you're really gonna find. So I think this was like a more realistic romance, but maybe that's also kind of why I didn't love it, because I love like the not realistic like super hot person with super hot person romance, because like I'm reading for escapism, not for the real world. So like I'm completely contradicting myself in what I'm saying, but like whatever, these are the thoughts that are coming to my head. So I liked this book. I don't know, there's just something about it where I felt like it was kind of dragging on, and then like kind of the end twist or whatever you would like to call it was just kind of like meh, whatever. I mean, to be honest, like the last 50 pages, I didn't really read them. I was skimming because I just kind of wanted it to be over. So while I did like a lot of elements for the book, the story wasn't really working for me personally. So there's that book. The next book I read, I'm actually currently reading the sequel. So I read this in January, February, like not transition week, The Vanishing Sarah by Maureen Johnson, which is the second book in the Truly Devious series, and I am currently reading The Hand on the Wall. So I don't think I'll be able to finish this before February's over, because I'm filming this on the 27th. Then so February's over tomorrow, so I'll probably be finishing this in March. And then I read this one, I think it was like in October. So you guys, we're almost done with the series. Yeah, this is the book I'm currently reading. This one I read, I don't know, I know what happens in this book because I'm like reading this and I'm not confused, but also it's just like these books kind of blend together. Like I can't tell you what specifically happens in each book. I know this book was like, I like this one I think better than the first, but I think I gave this a 3-star rating. The ending to this book is kind of like an information dump on like a mystery we have been following for the duration of the first 2 books. So I liked getting the closure of that mystery. And to be honest though, my whole thoughts on the whole trilogy is it probably could have been a duology. Like I mean, if you really tried to make it one book, I'm sure you could have managed it. A duology, definitely better. But this is just so unnecessary to be 3 books. I mean, it kind of drags on. So far, I'm really liking this one most out of all of them, but the first 2 I've given 3-star ratings to, and my whole thing is that they're just like, it's not that they're too long, right? But it's like, I don't mind reading a long book if it warrants being that long. But if it's like stuff that I don't really care about or things that are dragging on, then I don't need it to be as long as it is. So that was my complaint with the first book. The second book was shorter, so it was a little bit better, but overall, I don't know. It's just kind of like a forgettable series, I'm not gonna lie. I bought into the hype and kind of glad I read it, but like, I'm just excited to finish this book and be done with the trilogy. And then the next books I read are, oops, one fell. I read this one in October. I read this one in January, Blood and Honey, and this one I read in February, Gods and Monsters, and as you can see, they just get progressively longer. So this book probably took me about a week to read. It was like over 600 pages. So I guess I should go in order first. I read this one first, Blood and Honey, because it is like the second book. So why am I talking about the third book first? Blood and Honey, I really like this book a lot. I know, like, okay, so I was reading the reviews and like this got like good reviews, right? And then when it comes to the sequel, it seems like the audience just like split in half. Like half of the people hated it and then half of the people loved it. I personally loved the sequel. I thought it was really well done. And then I read Gods and Monsters. Again, is like the audience split in half. Like half the people loved it, half the people hated it. I loved it. I gave this 4 stars. I gave this 5 stars. And then the very first one I gave 5 stars. So it's almost a perfect 5-star trilogy. But the reason I gave Gods and Monsters 4 stars instead of 5 stars is because I felt like the conclusion was a great conclusion for our specific characters. But for the overarching like kingdom and the overarching like politics and whatever that was going on in the story, I feel like we didn't get a good sense of closure of what's really going to happen in the future with the kingdom and all these different things. So while, like I said, we got good closure on our characters, like the greater world, we don't really know what's happening with that. And that was kind of like a big aspect of the book, I feel like. So that's like the one thing I didn't love about it, but I really did love the ending of this trilogy, other than I wish we got more clarity on that. And yeah, and I loved Blood and Honey. Except for the ending. Except for the ending of Blood and Honey. If you know who dies in Blood and Honey, then you know. And you know why I was like tearing up. I was like, oh my god. Oh my god. Just heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. I love this trilogy so much, but it gave me one of my favorite characters. It took away one of my favorite characters, and it's just so heartbreaking. But anyway, highly recommend. If you haven't read this, I recommend reading it. Okay, what else I read? Ooh, I read another trilogy this month. Actually, these aren't like trilogies I like really fully read this month, but this one I fully read this month. Okay, you guys, and then I read another YA trilogy this month, and I read the whole trilogy in February, and that is To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I read the first one. I read P.S. I Still Love You, and Always and Forever, Laura Jean. Oh my god. This is probably one of my all-time favorite series. It is, I love the movies on Netflix. I thought they were really good because I watched each movie like after I read each book. And oh my god, this is my new favorite comfort read. I honestly kind of want to buy the audiobooks just so I have them forever because I will just listen to them multiple times. I listened to this one. I read it physically. I also listened to it on audio. This one I did physical and audio. This one I just read physically. But the audiobooks for these are amazing and I highly recommend them. They were great to listen to. I might re-listen to them at some point this year, just like while I'm working and stuff, probably re-listen to them because this is just such a good comfort series. I connected so well with all the characters. I love the characters and I really love Laura Jean because she's kind of like, her character is very similar to me. Like, our personalities are really similar. Like, she's like, I don't want to go to a party. Like, I want to stay in and like bake cupcakes. And I'm like, girl, me too. Like, I could give a fuck about going to a party or whatever. I just want to stay in. I want to read my books. Like, you know, and I just feel like, I don't know, I just like connected to her a lot and I really loved her character. I loved her family. Her dad, like the connections she had with her sisters, I was just like, fuck, I wish I had like grew up with like 2 sisters super close in age to me like that. Like, you know what I mean? The characters, if you want just like a good comfort read, something to make you happy, if you are down in any sort of way, these books will just make you happy. If you're just having a bad day, reading these books will make you happy. And also another reason I really connect with her is like, I'm like 23 now, right? This girl is like in high school, but she like is so terrified of driving and like all this thing. That's like a big like thing. And then if you know in the first book, you know, she gets into like a car accident within like the first like couple chapters or whatever. It's not serious or anything, you know, because it's like YA contemporary, but she gets into like a car accident and I was just like, oh my god, like that is literally so me when I was terrified of driving when I was younger. And then like the first time I drove by myself, I accidentally like ran into something and like I had such bad anxiety surrounding driving. So I was like, okay, like me and her are like the same that way. Yeah, it was just, again, really good. I feel like I'm not really adding anything. I'm just like, it's really good. It's really good. Connect with the character. It's really good. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. I just love it so much. And yeah, I would read them and I would listen to the audio. The next book I read this month was also on audio, and that was Arsenic and Adobo, which is the first book in the Tita Rosie's Kitchen Mysteries. It's like a new cozy mystery series. I believe it's supposed to be a trilogy. And in this first book, we have our main character, Lila. I was like blanking on her name. I think it's Lila? Lila. Oh my, I don't even know her first name. I don't know her first name, but I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was a really great audiobook, really great narration, loved it. So basically it's about this girl. She was from Chicago. She's from this small town. She moves to Chicago. The beginning of the book is about her being back in her small hometown after she had a breakup with her fiance in Chicago. And she comes back to help her Aunt Rosie and just work in her restaurant. And there is a food critic that writes a ton of bad reviews about their restaurant, and it happens to be her ex-boyfriend. And the beginning of the book, he comes in to eat at their restaurant, and he ends up dying. And they think she killed him. And they think she killed him. And it's just about her trying to investigate the mystery and what really happened to him so that she can kind of save herself from being arrested. And it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. It was very lighthearted. I saw a few of the reviews of people who didn't like it, as there was a lot of death or things going on in the book, and they're and the characters treat it so lightheartedly, and they're that's not realistic. That's so why are they acting this way? It's too lighthearted. They find out someone dies, and then they're talking about who should she date, right? Because there's a small love triangle thing. And it's well, I liked that personally about the book, because again, I read for escapism, not for reality. I like the mystery of it all, but I don't want someone to die and then the characters to be depressed and mourn. No, I just need something happy and fun, but that's also cool and mystery. So that's why I really like it. I really just think it's Scooby-Doo for adults. That's what I call this book, and I feel cozy mysteries in general. It's Scooby-Doo for adults, okay? There's crime and there's bad things happening, but it's lighthearted and it's a fun world, and we're not going to focus on the bad, right? So Arsenic and Adobo, the author came out with a second book this year called Homicide and Hollow, and that one I have on hold in my library. As soon as it's my turn, I will be able to listen to the audiobook for that, and I'll be listening because I really recommend this series, but don't listen to it if you're hungry, because they talk about a lot of food. So if you're hungry, if you're craving coffee, if you're craving yummy food, yummy desserts, don't listen to it, because you're gonna just crave it more and more. So listen to it on a full belly or while you're cooking. Actually, that would be good. Listen to it while you're cooking. That's a vibe. And the last book that I read this month was actually a reread. And that was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I had no intention on reading this month or even rereading it. And I honestly thought the second time I read this book, I would read it physically, because I listened to it on audio originally, loved it so much about the physical copy. And I meant to read the physical copy. But this month in February, I spontaneously went on vacation to North Carolina, and during my turn of the drive, it was early morning. My boyfriend was sleeping, so I was okay, I'm just gonna listen to an audiobook. And this is my library card expired, so I only had what I had on Audible from when I had my Audible subscription, and that was one of the books that I had. So I was okay, let's just re-listen to Daisy Jones and the Six, because it was really good. So I started listening to it, and then when we were up there, we basically went hiking every single day. So when we went on our hikes, I put my AirPods in, I listened to Daisy Jones as I'm hiking up the mountain, and it was great. It was a good time. I loved the reread of it, and it just made me love the book even more. And I feel I picked up on things the second time around that I didn't necessarily pick up on the first time. And I just overall, my thoughts on the book haven't changed from the first time I read it. I just equally as love it. The audiobook was just as amazing as the first time I listened to it, and even though I already read it 2 times, I would read it a 3rd time, and probably a 4th time and a 5th time, because I just fucking love this book, and I'm so excited they're coming out with the TV show. It's currently in filming right now. We haven't heard much about it. We've just seen a few cast photos or whatever from the filming or the script, and oh my god, I better come out at the end of this year, because it started filming in November of 2021, so I'm really hoping by the end of the year it is going to release. It is going to be on Amazon Prime Video. I'm a Prime member, no issues there. Cannot wait to read this book. Okay, what else did I read this month? That was the last full book I read. I'll tell you about the books I'm in the middle of right now. Currently, I am reading A Curious Beginning, which is the first book in the Veronica Speedwell series. Really loving it. You guys know I'm currently reading A Hand on the Wall. I just showed you that. Where is it? I'm currently reading this book. I'm in the beginning of it. I'm on page 65. I'm also just started Beaches, Bungalows, and Burglaries. So that's probably going to be in my March wrap up. And then what else am I currently reading? No, I just think those three. Those are the only... Oh, A Man Called Ove. A Man Called Ove, the book I've mentioned a million times that I must read. I started listening to the audio for this book. I never turned it back on because I got so bored. I did not like the audio for it. I got really bored and I didn't listen to it. So I think I need to pick it up physically, see if my thoughts change on the book. And this is a book I had hyped up in my brain so much. And I'm not loving it. I hate to say that because Anxious People is like one of my all-time favorite books ever. And this one I'm just like, Urgh. I mean, I'm not that far into the audio, but like I couldn't listen to it anymore. I was not in the mood to listen to it. So I'm going to try to read it physically, see if that changes my mind. But yeah, so I did kind of read this month. I think I got like 20% into it this month, but kind of DNF'd it. Although I'm not calling it a DNF because I'm not like officially putting it down. I'm just taking a break, you know? So that is everything I read these past 2 months. I know this is like a long video, so I will be looking forward to doing monthly wrap-ups instead of 2 in 1, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!